The Rochdale Mesh is an initiative to provide free to end users civic internet access. It's supported by Rochdale Borough Council, Rochdale Borough Wide Housing, the Northern Powerhouse, the Cooperative Heritage Trust, and No Worries IT. The idea is literally thinking outside the box. Rather than having a router on your premises, that the internet could be broadcast wirelessly from outside the premises. We wanted it to be frictionless with no captive portal, etc., yet we wanted it secure. We also wanted it low management without any sort of granular configurations of firewall rules. Heritage Hackers is a group that's been running via No Worries IT, supported by Rochdale Council now for nearly 10 years in Rochdale. The idea of Heritage Hackers was to get people engaged digitally, often people that were difficult to reach, via project-based learnings, doing little electronics projects, repurposing, recycling or upcycling things. And that's where we realised that a lot of people, we could give them devices and access to devices, but they didn't have access to the internet. And that's where we came up with the Cantenna. So attaching a USB wireless adapter inside a Pringles tin or whatever product, any sort of tin, it extends the power of that aerial massively. So what we was able to do is get people to be able to connect to existing public civic Wi-Fi, like libraries or shops, retail businesses that had Wi-Fi, and the council, etc., etc. Obviously, for this project, we needed something a little bit more robust than tubes of Pringles. So we sourced out long-range antenna that provide the backbone, which are really pretty much the same, doing the same thing as tins of Pringles, except they're commercially available. They cost about £100, and the claim is that they'll do over a 40-kilometre connection. In realistic terms, what we've tried is it will do manageable over 15-kilometre connection to create a backbone for your network. The products that we've chose are from Ubiquiti and the Unify range for numerous reasons. The main reason being that it's the network manager itself and things like that are open source, and therefore there's no license fees to run it, etc., etc. And they also have lots of useful tools to help you design your network. You've got the ISB Design Center, which really helps you design the backbone and things like that. And you've also got a console resource calculator, so you know what you're going to need to manage the amount of people that you're going to be servicing on your network. The backbone of the project is just essentially a 1 gigabit dedicated lease line, which goes into the Rochdale Pioneers Museum, which is the first successful cooperative in the country, in the world rather. And from there, we went over to these high-rise flats. So we've got a pretty good geographical location in terms of height being might when it comes to broadcasting wireless. So we've got them set up, creating a backbone around, and at the end of a lot of these points, that's where we have our little micro mesh networks, where the end user access points broadcast the SSID or wireless network for them to connect to. I know it's quite difficult to see on this slide, but you just get a little topology of the backbone, of where the backbone's going around the different housing blocks that these are on, and then the access points that go on the end of that. The same again, it's difficult to see the actual devices that are connected to some of the access points on there because there's literally, thousands. So you can have a small section, you can see the access points, but you've also got some a good idea of how people are using the network. You get messages about the connectivity quality, the bandwidth usage, the sites visited, the connectivity history, which access points you're connected to, and the history of people connecting to them access points. All devices and users can also be configured. So in other words, you can ban users in case you've got some people who are perpetually abusing the system, say, or trying to hack it, or you can lock people to a specific access point, etc., etc. In terms of personal identifiable information, or PIEs, GDPR is adhered to because it doesn't give you any information about the actual person on the device and things like that. It's just the device and what they're connected to. So you can only see kind of IP addresses and MAC addresses. You can't see anything else, any personal data from the users. At this stage of the project, we're getting approximately 1,400 connections every 24 hours, within 24 hours. There's much more room for growth in this as adoption, goes up, then, it gets rolled out, and the project's still rolling out as well as taking this out to other estates on the same connection. Our approximate cost in terms of the operating costs of this, what we're paying for the leased line and so on, is it's working out roughly around about 30p per user per month. I mean, obviously, statistically, the more users that come online, the lower that cost per user will go. Also, as part of that calculation, we've sort of worked out really with the cheapest sort of broadband package that you can get. We're actually saving residents on the area that we're actually rolling out this pilot is we're saving them approximately £1 million per year. I can see lots of statistics from the graphical user interface on the network manager. I can see what people are accessing, how much data that's using, it's downloading, what times a day, it's busy, etc., etc. I'm just going to briefly just have a quick chat about the wonders of wireless. I mean, it's a technology that's really only 100 years old. I think when Marconi was broadcasting from just near Chelmsford in Essex was, not that just over 100 years ago, and then the one from London, I think it was EB1, broadcast for an hour a day in 1922. So we're talking about a really new technology. And so we've come a long, long way in a short space of time. People paying people like Rediffusion. There's one here was called Perry's Wireless, which was a relay for Rediffusion. Then along came TV and the home MOS transmitter was one near us, and then there's lots of other transmitters. Then we've had other like mesh ideas like the Rabbit phone, which was ahead of its time, the mobile phone network. Now we've got 5G. And what we're trying to just bring into that is like a civic internet access via some mesh network, which is similar to the 5G network. So without much fanfare or publicity, a lot of people just automatically start connecting when they see there's a network there that they can connect to openly. So our typical device breakdown is like Fire Sticks, Chromecast, smart TVs, games consoles, laptops, desktops, smartphones, all the usual suspect. I mean, wireless was and still is revolutionary. I mean, voices and information over the ether is still borderline witchcraft. However, not all signals are created equal. Reflection, absorption, interference, etc. Reception can be improved. Antennas and gain are everything. Mobile phones typically, if people have it on power saving, it turns the power down or the gain down to your antenna to save power. So what we suggest to make bigger ripples in that Wi-Fi ocean is use an extender in your premises. So, if you put an extender in there, then that extender extends that wireless network into your premises more and gives you a little bit of control. It gives you greater indoor coverage. You can lock it down a little bit. You can put your own password on there if you want. And multiple extenders can be used. It does slow down the network a little bit, your own personal network, but you can sort of daisy chain extenders throughout a property if you do have a massive property. And extenders are relatively inexpensive. The average cost of a decent extender is around about £25. We also recommend using some sort of signal mapper, an app on a phone, something like that, just to map where the Wi-Fi is, because a lot of people misunderstand Wi-Fi, so they will plug in the Wi-Fi extender nearest to the device that they want to use rather than where it's picking up the strongest signal. Same again, we use a product from Unify, which is wonderful and free, called Wi-Fi Man. So that actually can use an augmented reality, and you can actually do a plan and see where the Wi-Fi signal is strong, where you could put your extender in. This project does have extensible ambitions. Currently, it's servicing 3 housing areas, which is College Bank, Lower Fairlinge and Freehold in Rochdale. We do have intentions to beam it over to another housing estate just on the outskirts of the town centre called Small Bridge. But this also model can be rolled out anywhere. All you need is a decent enough internet connection. The question of security always comes up. So we're trying to balance really usability and accessibility with online safety and security. So by default, we have device isolation turned on. So obviously users can't add a printer or anything like that to the network or see any other devices. No LAN networking is available. We have basic workplace firewall rules in place. So in other words, no adult sites, stuff like that. Just the sort of stuff you'd expect at work. And building trust from the users base is obviously quite interesting, just letting them know that we're not capturing any of their data, which is not what this project is about. And also it gives us access, we're out there, we're leafleting on the estate, trying to run little workshops, just letting them know that Rochdale Council facilitating paths to digital and web literacy training. There's a lot of good stuff going on around the digital tech library where they're lending people devices, so on and so on. I know this isn't a controversial comment anymore, but it is plain to see that the internet is a vital utility. I'm often preaching to the converted about this, but during the pandemic we knew, it fed us, it got us access to medical appointments, and now we've got rapidly approaching cashless societies. We need online banking. Most of our services now we need to interact in some way with the internet. It's really good for saving money on bills, getting the best deals and things like that. Also, the democratization of information which came with the internet and give us access to lots and lots of knowledge, lots of learning resources and things things like that. And also, for good or for bad, it gives us access to social networks and, starting communities and hopefully meeting up with people in real physical communities. And finally, we have set up a website, which is just like a wiki or an answer page, just to give people information about the mesh, how to connect, any work that we've got going on, or any issues with connectivity. And also, people can submit support requests and just ask any questions about the Rochdale Mesh on there. So I hope this answers any questions that you might have about the mesh, and please feel free to get in touch if you've got any more questions.